Greetings and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. I'm Pastor Janice Fareed Hardy of Fresh Fire International Ministries, and my topic today is the race of your life, your Christian journey. Now, the Apostle Paul in the Bible, he compares the Christian life to being like an athlete in a race. And he said, let me read this in 2 Timothy 2 and 5. Anyone who competes as an athlete does not receive the victor's crown except by competing according to the rules. So what he was saying there is that in order to win any kind of a race, you've got to do the work. Whatever the rules are, whatever the work is, you've got to do it, okay? And he was thinking about the races of his time. But my question that floated through my mind was, is the Christian life today like the races of our day and our time? Because if they are, then I, like Paul, can look at those races and learn more, get revelation from God of how I can improve my Christian journey, my Christian walk, my Christian race. Okay? So to find out, I asked 3 people whom I know, okay, what it was like. And I asked them 2 particular questions. The first question was, why did they enter the race? And the second question was, what was the toughest mile or miles in their race, and how did they overcome it? Okay, so I asked Major Fareed. I didn't go far. I asked Major Fareed, I asked Erica Fareed, and I asked Taji Fareed. That's 2 of my sons and one of my daughters-in-law. And I asked them because, in total disclosure, I never have, and you can trust me, I never will run a marathon or a triathlon. So I had to ask those, who know. Now, the races in Paul's time, Apostle Paul's time, was very different from the races in our time. Today, most of the marathons cover at least 26 miles, and the triathlons vary in how long they are according to what the category is. There are different categories of triathlons, but all triathlons have 3 main components, and there are 3 races basically that you do one right behind the other. Okay, the first one is swimming, and the swimming part, the race can be up to 2.5 miles. The biking part can be up to 112 miles, depending on what kind of triathlon it is. And the running can be up to 26 miles, once again, depending upon what kind of a triathlon it is. So I asked Major, okay, what it was like for him to run his first, to participate in, I should say, his first triathlon, okay? And he told me, I asked him, why did you get involved in that? It seemed so brutal. And he said, and use his exact words, here we go. Okay, he said he got involved because he wanted to, quote, create both disruptions to his regular pattern of life, as well as use the challenge to set personal goals that would become disciplined habits. So he wanted to disrupt his regular pattern and, really develop some new habits that would help him with his personal goals. Now, he had to get his wife on board, first of all, because it was going to impact their life together, because he would be, undergoing such demanding training, all right, and putting in a lot of hours for it. And she did agree to it. So for a year, after working his intense job, daytime job, Major had to also fight his way through ridiculous hours of workouts, training, okay, sometimes with other people who were also working towards the triathlon, and also a lot of times alone. So I want to go back to Major's word for a moment. He used that word disruption because it reminds me of the Christian journey. Do you know that every decision we make is a disruption? It is an interruption. It's a breaking apart. It's really a shattering of something. Even if we decide to, if our decision is to make no changes, okay, just accept, what is already, even that, it's disrupting what could have been a potential future, a potential difference in our lives, whether it's good or it's bad. Every decision causes a disruption. Every decision closes some doors and opens others. It's kind of like the show Let's Make a Deal, but I think the Christian race is a whole lot better than Let's Make a Deal. Now for Major, the decision okay, to enter the triathlon, it caused disruption in his life. And that in turn brought about new patterns for his life because he could not keep his old ways and be successful in this new world called triathlon. Doesn't that sound a lot like Christianity also? I think Apostle Paul was on to something. Then I asked Major, what was the toughest mile for him? And he said the toughest mile for him was the first one. He said it took him making that first step to commit in order to, to do the whole endeavor. To him, once he made that decision to do the triathlon, there would be no turning back. The first mile for him was his mental decision. It wasn't the physical decision, but his mental decision that he was going to go all the way. And Jesus requires that kind of commitment from us. We as athletes in the Christian race, we are required to do likewise, to burn the bridge of what was behind us. Okay, there is no going back, no turning around. There is zero tolerance for holding on to what God wants us to let go of. We have to have that first mile and then move forward. So then I asked Taji, who has run marathon, a marathon and other races. And he said he entered his first marathon so that he could get more competitive sports into his life because he missed the ones he used to be engaged in back in the day. Back in his day. He calls it back in the day. I have a much longer back in the day, but nonetheless, life happens. Life happens. Now, he said that the training was tough, not just because of the rigor, but also because a lot of it had to be done alone when no one was around. They were, before daybreak and after dark, he was working out and practicing and running. Okay, he said the actual marathon, it was different because there were crowds cheering you on, okay? People are encouraging you from the sidelines. People are giving you water to refresh yourself. So he said even with training, if you were in a training class, most of the time, most of that year of training, you are running and training alone month after month after month after month. You would have to sacrifice some of the time that you would have with, having fun with your family, with your friends, because your dedication must be to the demands and the requirements of being ready, to participate in that race. And at times, Taji said he would wonder, he would say to himself, why am I doing this? Okay, especially if you enjoy interacting with people. So you have to be, he said, very clear on your goal and how it's going to benefit you. The Apostle Paul said we will need to make some sacrifices. Just like Taji was talking about making sacrifices, you're going to need to make some sacrifices and give some things that you might otherwise want to do in order to train for and run this Christian race. And if you step into your calling, then there will be other sacrifices that you will have to do. Yet, Jesus said it will all be worth it. Let me read for you Mark chapter 10, verses 29 through 30. It reads, "Truly, I tell you, no one who has left home or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or fields for me and the gospel will fail to receive 100 times as much in this present age. Homes, brothers, sisters, mother, children, and fields, along with some persecutions, and in the age to come." In the eternal, you will get eternal life. Jesus was saying that you cannot out-sacrifice me. If I ask you to give up something, it's for your own good, number one. Okay, it's to keep you out of something that you don't need to get into, number one. And second of all, whatever you sacrifice for me, I'm going to give you even better. I will give you even better, saith the Lord. So Taji, when I asked him, he said that the toughest mile for him was, it was not mile 8, because at mile 8, okay, of this 26-mile race, at mile 8, he injured his knee while he was running. He said that he could run on the pain, hoping that no permanent damage was being done. Okay, it slowed him down, but he refused to let it take away his goal of finishing. He said the toughest mile for him, or stretch of miles for him, began at mile 14. Mile number 14 to mile 20, he said, was hard for him because aside from the knee pain, he also started hearing negative thoughts in his mind, okay? He had to fight back negative thoughts. He fought back with the grit that's in him, and also by telling himself that he had already passed the halfway point and that what was in front of him was shorter, okay, than what was behind him. He said it was really a mind game he had to win with his self-talk. And I ask you, when you really think about it, how many times have you on your Christian journey had to tell yourself, to fight the negative thoughts, hearing you're not good enough, okay, you don't have what it takes, you're never going to make it, who do you think you are, so on and so on and so on. I can see why the Apostle Paul said our Christian walk is like a race, because we have to do all the things that Taji did to stay on the path. And just like Taji and other racers, there will be times when we have to keep going even when it hurts in some kind of way to do so, but knowing that God is healing us even as we press on. Then I communicated with Erica. Okay, and she gave me an entirely different perspective. Her motive and her experience were different from the guys. She said to her, completing the marathon would show that she was in good health and that she could have a baby. Even though, some research was showing her that she was not the optimal age for having a baby. Okay, so her goal was entirely different, very different. She put herself through the intense training and the actual marathon to test her body. Now, I must tell you, some research says that running a marathon is similar in many ways to having a baby because, in the sense that you go through months of training, months of preparation, and it takes a mental and a physical toughness for you to endure all the way to completion. So she wanted to test her body. Erica said she actually enjoyed running miles 1 through 19. It was exciting. Okay, there was new scenery she'd never seen before, and all of that. It just, just the excitement of the whole race. It just propelled her for 19 miles. Okay, and then something happened around mile 20. She said at mile 20, okay, she had run miles 20 through 26. She had run that route many times in practice. Okay, so she knew the route. So she said you would think that she would be prepared for it, but she did not expect the challenge of running out of energy at that point. Okay, her mind was telling her that she had experienced all this scenery before, so that, so many times that there was no need to do it again. And her mind was telling her, your energy tank is at 0. You are not going to make it. Erica knew that she was in danger of forfeiting all that she had, all the time, sweat, tears, sacrifice that she had made in her training. Plus, she had a bigger goal. The baby. Is my body, able to hold a baby? So what could she do? She started fighting back. She had to fight her own mind to remind herself that she had done this road before so she could do it again. She had to tap into her own strong willpower, and she had to shift strategies to meet that moment. She did not push to try to run the entire, remaining 6 miles because her legs would have given out. She knew that for a fact. Instead, she started alternating between walking and running. She did exactly, really, what the Apostle Paul told his mentee Timothy to do. Okay, in 2 Timothy, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6 through 7. Let me read that to you. Paul told Timothy, therefore, I remind you to stir up the gift of God that's already in you through the laying on of my hands. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind, or self-discipline. Okay? Apostle Paul told Timothy, remember where you come from, remember whose you are, and remember that God has already placed in you everything that you need to make it, okay? No matter what voices, people, or your head is telling you. And the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's Philippians 4:13. That means that it's really a partnership. Part of it is I can. I got to do my I can. But if I do my I can, then God's part is that he will strengthen me and God will do it. Okay? It is a partnership. Erica had to have a made up mind to pull on that partnership. She's like, I can do this. Therefore, God will step in and strengthen me. It is a unbeatable partnership. So just as Major and Taji's experience, Erica's experience is very much a metaphor for the Christian life also. All right. And the Apostle Paul often tell believers of what he had gone through. These were things that he never expected to go through on the journey. When he signed up for the job, there were a lot of things that happened after that he did not expect. He would tell people about many times he was shipwrecked, beaten, etc. And then in 2 Corinthians, and let me turn to that for you. In 2 Corinthians, I'm looking at some verses in chapter 11 and some verses in chapter 12. Paul said, I have labored and toiled and have gone without sleep. I have known hunger and thirst and have often gone without food. I have been cold and naked. Yet, if I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness. But when I am weak, I am strong. When my weakness shows up, God's strength comes in there every time, is what he was saying. Okay, to expect the unexpected, but more than that, to expect God to show up no matter what happens, all right? So, it very much races of our day and time are like the Christian walk. And yes, okay, Erica, she got finished the marathon, and she did have a healthy baby a while later, okay? So, as the Apostle Paul said, okay, the Christian walk is very much like a race, even the races of our own time. Okay, he in the letter to his mentee in 2 Timothy, he closes 2 Timothy saying, the Lord will rescue me from every evil attack. So to him be glory forever and ever. All right, so as you go on your Christian race, remember these things and be encouraged and press on and know that you have everything you need to complete this race successfully. Okay. Now, if you are someone who's never given your life to the Lord, this is a good time to do that right now. I urge you to do it right now so you can be divinely covered on your race. Come on into the kingdom of Jesus Christ. And you do that according to Romans 10:9 and 10 by confessing or saying it with your mouth and believing it with your heart. So say this with me or repeat it after me. Play back this tape if you need to, okay? Father, I confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord, and I believe in my heart that you raised him from the dead. I forsake my past life where you were not the center, and now I willingly make you the center of my life. All right. Thank you for forgiving my sins. I am now a new creature in Jesus. I confess it with my mouth, and I believe it with my heart. Therefore, I am now saved, and you are. You are. Now start visiting a Bible-based church, either in person or online, depending on what's happening in your area. But it's absolutely essential that you now find a church that will help you to understand the Bible. Because to grow in Jesus' kingdom, we must continue learning the Bible. Welcome to Jesus' kingdom. Welcome to your new race and victory. And if we at Fresh Fire can help you with anything, please contact us through the Contact Us tab on our website. And our website is www.ffimistries.com. That's www.ffimistries.com. Or call us, 929-248-8277. And to everyone, God bless you. Run your race well. And I hope to see you next Wednesday.